Hi, and welcome to the show, everybody. I'm your host, Jack Canfield, and I am really excited about my next guest today. Kim Sorrelle is the executive director of a humanitarian organization, which you're going to hear a little bit about her work there, the owner of a couple of event and catering centers. And in the midst of all that, she's found time to write a really powerful book entitled Love Is, which is about her year-long quest to discover the true meaning of the word love. Welcome to the show, Kim.
Thank you so much. So great to be here.
Well, and let me start by saying I absolutely love your book, not to keep overusing the word love, but I do. And I know it sounds like a cliche, but in this case, it's really true. I literally could not stop turning the pages, and I'm so excited to be interviewing you now. So my first question for our viewers is, why love? Why did you decide to spend a year focusing on how to live in a state of love?
Well, I had heard about a guy that was going to live a year like Jesus and write a book about it, and realized that, Jesus is different to everybody. To some, he's Lord and Savior and peace and light. And to some, he's the guy turning over tables. To some, he's a heretic or a prophet. And so I thought, guy, how would I approach that? And then I thought, well, God is love. So what if I tried to live love, but then thought, well, what is love really? And so I thought it was worth exploring to try to figure out what love is.
And well, but let's break it down a little more. You went into the Bible and found Corinthians, and it described, I think, was what 12 different aspects of love. Talk about that for just a second, and then we'll talk about how you attempted to move that into your life.
Okay, so yes, so what I decided to do was take the love chapter that you hear at every wedding and kind of glaze over. Love is patient, love is kind, doesn't envy, does not boast, et cetera, and take it one word at a time and figure out what it means. What is love that is patient? What is love that is kind? And it was very eye-opening. Like, it was so different than what I expected. Every single word was not at all just the meaning of the word. Love put before it, or in the context of love, each word was so different than what you read in the dictionary.
Mm-hmm. So you basically researched this word by living it out. Talk about how you did that.
Yeah, well, a lot of my time that I was writing and researching and figuring it out, I was in Haiti. I spend a lot of time there with my organization. And so most of the stories in the book are what I was going through at the time while I was in Haiti. And for instance, when I was working on Love Doesn't Keep Record of Wrongs, one that I was sort of avoiding because I thought, gosh, I've got all these great stories. Doesn't mean I can't tell them anymore. But so when I was working on that, though, I was asked to go to Haiti by this group of 8 men that wanted to see this water project there. And so I took 2 of my Haitian friends to translate, 2 more men, so 10 men and me. And we get out into the countryside where we're going to be staying. And it's typical Haiti with a cement wall around and then a small cement building. And there were 2 rooms as all in the building. And both rooms had 4 twin-size beds. So the man in charge of the American men pulled me aside. Kim, I need to talk to you. He said, did you see the rooms? And I'm thinking, well, there's really nothing else to see. We're on this little complex. And then I'm thinking, oh, he's going to be afraid that I'm going to want my own room. And there's only so much sleeping room. So I thought, well, I'll say, oh, it's okay, I'll sleep outside. And then he'll say, oh, no. If anybody should sleep inside, it should be you. And then I'll say, well, I don't care if other people sleep with me, and everything will be fine. So I said, it's okay, I'll sleep outside. And he said, oh, good. That's great, because we have men that will not want to sleep with a woman in the room. I'm thinking, what am I going to do with a bunch of men? Do they all sleep naked? I don't know. But anyway, so fine. And then a little while later, he pulled me aside again. Kim, did you see the shower? And again, it's the only thing to see. And the shower in Haiti quite often is there's a 4-foot cement wall with a 55-gallon drum of water behind it and a 5-gallon bucket. And you get a bucket of water and you wash with it, and that's your shower. And he said, I really need you to shower last because I'd hate for you to walk in on any of the men. I'm thinking, well, they're all over 4 foot tall. And certainly I would see that they're in the shower. Like, I'm not going to go walk in, but that's fine, whatever. Well, I had to figure out a place to sleep. And there were these 2 sort of Haitian sawhorses with a piece of plywood over the top. And I thought, well, at least if it rains, I'm going to be okay. I'll be protected a little bit, feel protected. And so that's where I slept. And fortunately, we had an air mattress along. And so filled the air mattress, and Dad and I, went to sleep. And my biggest fear was that something would crawl on me. I mean, there's snakes and there's tarantulas, and I did not want that. And I am outside on the dirt. And about an hour in, all the air was out of my mattress, and it was really loud, dogs barking and cars passing by, honking their horns. And then things settled down, maybe 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. The voodoo drums in the distance started, and that kept me awake. And eventually those died down. And so then I was able to sleep. So I got a couple hours of sort of sleep, cautious sleep. And the first night, fine. Well, the second night, same thing, the dogs, the horns, the voodoo drums, finally some peace. And I woke up because something was on me. And I was so afraid. And I didn't want to move. I didn't want something to bite me. I didn't want to scream. I wanted to be so careful. So I slowly opened my eyes to see what it was. And it was a chicken. There was a chicken on my leg, of all things. It's like I was grateful it wasn't a tarantula or a snake. I'm not wild about tarantulas. And so I was grateful, but I'm thinking, why is this chicken waking me up? I get 2 hours of sleep and there's a dang chicken on my leg. I shoot it away. And the next night, fine. And then the next night, again, something on me. And again, I'm scared and wondering what it is. And again, it's a chicken. Why a chicken? I have no idea. I don't know. But in talking about love that doesn't keep record of wrongs, at first I was a little bitter that they're men and they're making the only woman there sleep outside and get chickens landing on her and other things that could happen. And then I realized that you don't forget stories. You don't forget what's happened to you, but you change the narrative. Love that doesn't keep record of wrongs doesn't hang on to bitterness and anger over something. Now I just think of it as a funny story that happened to me. I could sleep anywhere in the world. I can sleep there after going through that. And so you change the mood and you change the narrative. And that is love that doesn't keep record of wrongs.
That's great. Well, as I said, I kept turning the pages. There were some chapters that read like a Indiana Jones movie as you're moving from the Dominican Republic into Haiti, and there's these motorcycle gangs chasing you that want you to give money to them. And you talk about, love is not envious, and then you had to look at all the things maybe you might have envied, but you kept coming up against each of these things in your day-to-day experiences and had to look at them because that was your focus for the month. And I just think it's so profound, your stories. And I think so many books about love tend to be what I would call, rainbows and unicorns, and it's all, nicey nice, but you really delve deeply into how challenging it can be, how, habitual we are in our things that are not necessarily loving, that you had to confront and let go of, in month by month by month, as you went through these aspects of love, if you want to call it, like facets on a diamond. And I just found the read incredible. You did this for a whole year. You've written a really totally readable, I think, transformative book, meaning the readers are transformed by it. How was that experience for you, transformative? How was it life-changing for you to live your life this way for a year?
Yeah, transforming. That's a great word. It definitely changed me. It changed. I love people. I've always loved people, but I love in a whole new way now. And I love deeper. and and cleaner, I guess, because living without envy, living without pride, the things that are listed. And the biggest thing I think is that there's such freedom in it. It is so freeing to be kind to somebody with no expectation of anything in return. It's so freeing to just be happy for somebody and not be envious of what they have, but just truly love them and be happy for what they have. There's just so much freedom in loving the way that we're supposed to love.
Yeah, I was really moved by the chapter on patience, because that's something I've struggled with in life. And how when you just surrender to what is and just be patient with the processes that unfold, the freedom that comes from that, the lack of stress, the being with that then occurs, as opposed to, you're kind of like with this future goal, as opposed to being with the present moment. That chapter was very, very powerful for me. So I really thank you for the contribution that your book's already making in my life. So thank you for that. Before I ask you where people can get your book and start bringing this to a close, which I hate to do because there's so many things we could talk about, is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience about your experience, or maybe one of the other aspects of love that you encountered?
Yeah, well, kindness was a really big one for me, because everyone's kind. I mean, you should be kind. And there's the whole, acts of kindness movement and whatever. But to have, I believe that love that is kind is a no expectation kind. It's being kind with zero expectation that you'll get anything in return. And how often do you hear people say, wow, they didn't even say thank you, or we had them over for dinner, they never have us over for dinner, and you lose it. Like the kind is gone. Once you do that, that's not kind anymore. Like you've given kind away. But love that is kind just does because it loves. And that was a big eye-opening thing for me, because it's so important.
I love that chapter. That was really beautiful. A friend once told me the sun always shines. It doesn't look down on New Orleans and say, yeah, you've been bad. You had a Mardi Gras, everyone was drunk. We're not going to shine on New Orleans today, because the sun, that's the nature of the sun, has to shine. And I think it's our human nature to love, even though we've often, so many people have, crusted over, might be a good word, and are not letting that love out. So first of all, thank you for writing a great book. Thank you for being on the show today. I want to encourage everybody to get a copy of Kim's book, Love Is. It's readable. It's an adventure story at some level, the adventure of being in Haiti, the adventure of really pursuing this embodiment of love, which most of us talk about but rarely do. And you show us how it's possible. So thank you for that. And thank you for joining us today, Kim.
Thank you so much for having me. And thank you for the great compliments about my book. I'm glad you
liked it. It is a great book. Well deserved, well deserved. So as I said, I encourage every one of you to get a hold of this book. It's what the world needs now. To quote a famous song, what the world needs now is love, sweet love. So there you are. The world needs now is a book called Love Is. So I encourage you to get a copy. I encourage you to think about this. What's one thing you could do today to be a little kinder, be a little patient, be a little more, less boastful, less envious, less prideful, and really make that a commitment to do one thing today. Maybe it's to call someone who needs to be called, to send out a thank you note, to just look in the mirror and maybe love yourself, and stop judging yourself, just as we want to stop judging people. So have a good week, and we'll see you next week. We'll have another author who has written a book that makes a difference in the world to uplift your life. And today you be someone that maybe uplifts someone else's life. We'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.